So yesterday I was scrolling the timeline as I often do, more than I should, and I was very confused because my timeline was like probably 70% new Pope memes and then 30% Matt Painter's better than Tom Izzo. Nah, no, you're stupid. Tom Izzo's better than Matt Painter. And I was just like, why? Why are we doing this in May? I'm very confused. Those are two great coaches. Where did this debate stem from? Come to find out, I'll call him a friend of the program. We've never actually like interacted with him, but we talk about his stuff quite a bit. Jordan Stocks at Stock Talks 21, friend of the program, did his power rankings of the best coaches in the Big Ten 2 days ago, and he had Tom Izzo number one, Matt Painter number two, Dusty May three, Dana Altman four, Mick Cronin five. But apparently, Purdue fans did not like this very much. Purdue fans jumped all over this, like, whoa, 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 wait a second. We have the best coach in the Big Ten. And then when Purdue fans jumped on to make that argument, Michigan State fans then reactionarily jumped on to their argument to make their argument. It's like, shut up, you're stupid. Jordan Stocks was right. Tom Izzo is the best. Anyways, this was all over my timeline. It got all over my brain. I thought about it. In fact, I did some research on it. I have some numbers. I have a very clear answer for who's a better coach between Tom Izzo and Matt Painter, or who the best coach in the Big Ten is. But first, I'll throw it to you to weigh in on this whole debate. Should this even be a debate, and who is the better coach?
I mean, I think both coaches are phenomenal. Both coaches are, like the the class of the Big Ten. I think in Izzo's case, he's considered amongst the class of in the country, maybe amongst the class to ever hold the position within college basketball. What I guess the interesting part about this debate is my gut feeling and my initial reaction was Tom Izzo, and then I'm doing this new thing, G. So I just ask Chat GPT questions and see
Oh,
what
that's fun.
and I just see what they come up with. So Chat GPT's let me know that Izzo's actually 17 and 18 against Payne.
Mhm.
And across the last 20, or in Big Ten history, Matt Painter's fourth all time in Big Ten wins, Izzo's first, but obviously Izzo's been a coach for 10 more years. So when you run the numbers, I think I see where Purdue fans are coming from. But for me, I've always felt this way about coaches. I even feel this way a lot about players. Impact on the sport, impact on the game to me is as important as anything you've done, like record wise, championship wise. I do believe Izzo's had a bigger impact on the sport of college basketball.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Okay, so I said I have a very clear answer. I'm going to get to my very clear answer in a second, but first I'm going to take the long-winded route to explaining how I get there. There are 100 different ways to cut up the conversation who is better between Tom Izzo and Matt Painter. You just even cut up a couple of them along the way. Who has the better career? Tom Izzo. Which coach would you take for one game? That's a debate. Which coach would you take from this moment forward? Drop today on your program for however much future you have. That's Matt Painter, because presumably he's going to have a lot more years left than Tom Izzo. Um, there's a bunch of different ways you can cut it up. Some of the answers will be Tom Izzo based on how you cut it up. Some of the answers will be Matt Painter. Obviously, Izzo's winning most of the longevity related. Like, how many times have you done this? Tom Izzo's coached longer, as you alluded to. Matt Painter, you could argue, is in his prime and is almost at the height of his powers. National title appearance 2 years ago. Loaded teams, All Americans every year, three straight Big Ten Player of the Years. He's rolling. He's the preseason favorite for next year. So, it's hard to have the argument. Which one would you take right now? Which one's running things right now? Which one has had the better career? Just point blank, who's the better coach is a harder way to answer it. And I would just point back to what was this originating from? Jordan's graphic that just says power rankings, Big Ten coach power rankings. It's just a power rankings. It's not any like philosophical question here. Who should be number one in the power rankings? Dion, I have a question for you. Which coach won the Big Ten last year?
Izzo.
It was Tom Izzo by 3 games while starting Shimon Zapala, while Matt Painter had two All-Americans, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, also, can honorable mention Dusty May.
You're right. Thank you for that right here. But like to be clear, if it's just power rankings, who's on top right now? That's power rankings.
Yeah.
Matt Painter had two All-Americans and the best player in the Big Ten. Quite frankly, there's no reason Purdue shouldn't have won the Big Ten last year. And they didn't. And they didn't beat Michigan State head to head. They came home with zero banners, just individual accolades. And if you want to flip that argument to, well, why didn't that happen? Every explanation for why it happened is Matt Painter's own issue. Other than Daniel Jacobson got hurt, and that was a fluke bad luck thing. But God, that's a tough sell that if Daniel Jacobson was healthy, Purdue would have just ran through the league and not finished tied for sixth like they did. Tom Izzo won the league by 3 games with separation, folks. He went the furthest in March that any team did. Just he just had the most impressive year any coach has had and beat Painter head to head while Painter had a more talented roster. So I don't understand how there's any debate whatsoever that Izzo is currently at number 1 on a power rankings list. If the argument becomes which coach would you take going forward, then sure, it's Painter. But I actually want to add even more numbers to this, Dion, because man, I think this is so much more decisive than Purdue fans are even making it out to be. And Purdue fans aren't going to like me for this, but you mentioned longevity. Tom Izzo obviously had the best years of his career before Painter was even hired, right? Is that fair to say?
Oh, yeah.
Painter got hired in 2005, 2006. So what I've done, I've looked at numbers just since Matt Painter's been hired. Let's ignore everything Tom Izzo did before Matt Painter walked through the door, and we just have the same number of years of Matt Painter at Purdue versus Tom Izzo at Michigan State. Let's look at a bunch of categories that define winning really quickly here. Big Ten regular season titles. Tom Izzo has 6. Matt Painter has 5. Advantage Izzo. Big Ten tournament titles. Tom Izzo has 4. Matt Painter has 2. Advantage Tom Izzo. Players drafted in the NBA. Tom Izzo has 15. Matt Painter has 10. Advantage Izzo. NCAA tournament records. Michigan State 38-19. They've won 67% of their games. Purdue 25-16. They've won 61% of their games. Advantage Tom Izzo. Times missed the NCAA tournament. Michigan State 0. Purdue 4. Since Matt Painter started. Advantage Izzo. Second weekend trip, Sweet 16 or further. Michigan State 10, Purdue 8. Advantage Izzo. Final 4 appearances, Michigan State 4, Purdue 1. Advantage Izzo. National Player of the Years, both teams have 2. Tie. It's tied. First team all Big Ten players. Purdue has 19. Michigan State has 10. Matt Painter has had nearly double the amount of first team all Big Ten players in his tenure and is lower in every possible winning metric that there is. Today's video is presented by Underdog Fantasy.
Well, what's going on with your hat?
Well, my hat's not supposed to be this way, is it?
I don't think so, no.
Just like people who watch these videos are not supposed to not sign up for Underdog Fantasy using promo code SLEEPERS. At the time of this recording, we have 49 people who have signed up as a first-time user with Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code SLEEPERS. 50 is a very, very important number. 50 is a number we would really like to get to. You, loyal listener, person watching this video right now, could be the person who gets us over the hump with number 50. And we have a great free pick that you get with this. Donovan Mitchell to score at least 1 point. How many points did Donovan Mitchell have in game 2, Cart?
I believe he was too short of 50 with 48.
Yeah, he had 48 points. 50, very key number for a lot of reasons. If Donovan Mitchell scores 1 point, you cash in your free pick, and you can get your deposit match bonus up to $1,000 with promo code SLEEPERS. Sign up, put the promo code in, SLEEPERS. Get that deposit match, get yourself free funds, use the free pick, cash that winner, and turn your hat the right way. Than Tom Izzo, but advantage Purdue. Big Ten Player of the Year winners, 5 for Purdue, 4 for Michigan State. Advantage Painter. Again, individually, Matt Painter's had more talented guys at Purdue that have had better individual seasons, and his teams have not put up the numbers that Tom Izzo has in the same years. And then finally, overall record. You mentioned Painter has a 1-game advantage head-to-head. That is a mark for Painter. Overall, Michigan State, 71% winning percentage in those years with Izzo. Purdue, 68% winning percentage. 471 wins for Purdue, 504 wins for Michigan State. Advantage Izzo. There is no way to cut up the numbers that paint this in favor of Paint other than a 1-game head-to-head advantage or the sizable individual accolade advantage. And I would make the argument that the guy whose team has had nearly double the amount of individual accolades, winning less at every possible metric in his tenure is the most decisive reason why the coach that just won the Big Ten by 3 games, while Matt Painter had 2 All-Americans again, is the number one coach on the power rankings list. Mike drop.
ChatGPT agrees with you, by the way. And ChatGPT also made me a chart as you were talking, spelling out everything you just said. So we're chart guys now too.
So am
But
I ChatGPT?
you might be better than ChatGPT because ChatGPT doesn't know that Paint made the Final Four last year, which is the only knock I got on them. It's rough. It's rough. But we were able to include that. No, seriously, I think impact on the sport. This most recent Michigan State Big Ten title to me, and I know Izzo has won a national championship, so this is going to sound crazy to State fans. That's the most impressive thing he's done in his career, in my opinion, because he did it in an era that goes completely against what he believes in, completely against what his values are, and completely against the way he builds a team. And said, while everyone else is going to do this, I'm going to stick to my principles and my values, and I'm still going to beat you. And granted, there is some frustration with the roster going to get to this year because of those same principles and values. But that's why you trust Izzo. That's why he's made such an impact on the sport. That's why he's made such an impact on the young men that have come into his program. I mean this like with all due respect to like honestly any other coach. I've never heard players speak about their college coach the way like Draymond Green, Jaren Jackson Jr., so on and so forth speak about Tom Izzo. And like when he shows up to their games, they like uplift their performance. They go back to Michigan State for grind week. So it's a true family environment. I just think he's made such a bigger impact on the sport of college basketball than really anybody else has. And then when you look at the individual like statistics, he's also done more than Matt Painter has in every single category besides having All-Americans. And at the end of the day, you had all those All-Americans, but who has the better NBA guys?
Yeah, it's a fair question. It's a fair question. Yeah, I would sit here and agree with Purdue fans that if you flip the conversation into which coach would I take today, I would take Matt Painter. Sure, because Matt Painter has already shown a willingness that Tom Izzo hasn't to adapt in this era. Matt Painter has righted all the wrongs that hurt last year's team this offseason, and that's why his team is the preseason number one. I have more faith that Matt Painter will continually put Purdue in the top 5 teams in the country going forward than I do that Tom Izzo will. The problem is I might have more faith that Tom Izzo keeps winning anyway, because this is the Matt Painter era, Dion. We called it the Purdue era coming into last season. Zach Edey, Braden Smith, Jaden Ivey, Matt Painter. This is his era. And at the damn peak of it, Tom Izzo punked him and won the lead by 3 games while starting Shimon Zapala and Jeremy Fears and Jaden Akins. So, like, I don't know how you could possibly debate this. And I love you, Purdue fans, but if you win the league, say you win a national championship, let's come back and revisit this next year. Because if Paint gets there, then it's a whole different conversation. But it falls flat coming off of how last year fell flat.
Also, like, Paint's got that Shire pressure in my eyes this year. So does Shire, by the way. But, like, if you don't make the Final Four, that's a bad year. Like, simple as that. Like, your baseline is the Final Four with this roster, and then we can start talking. But this roster's too good this time not to make a Final Four.
So I was pushing back on this, and I know we should end this and move on in a second. But I was fleshing this out with Michigan State fans yesterday in our Discord. And they were rightfully laughing because they were like, do you know how bad the argument has to be for Greg to defend Tom Izzo? Like, that's a pretty good read by them. I hate when people say the only measurement of success for an upcoming season is March based, because we've just seen the best teams, title-worthy teams, just get bit in a 1-game sample size. To me, I totally understand anyone who says, like, it's got to be a Final Four. It's got to be a national championship. And that's what Michigan State fans were saying. They were like, oh, you want Paint to jump Izzo? Then win the title. Okay, that's fair. My pivot would just be this. They could have a phenomenal season. They could go undefeated. They could win the Big Ten title. They could win the Big Ten tournament and then get bit in the round of 32 by a buzzer beater. Would they be disappointed? Absolutely. Would that be a failure of a season? No way. That's my perception of it. I would say the same thing about Denzel Valentine's Michigan State team. That wasn't a failure year. He was the National Player of the Year. They won the Big Ten. They won the Big Ten tournament, I think. Like, how are you going to sit here and say that sucked because Giddy Potts got hot for 20 minutes? Like, it's why we love the tournament. Matt Painter needs to keep giving himself chances at it, and he'll get over the hump. But I guess how I would define it coming into next year, Purdue needs to win banners, ideally plural, but you got three opportunities. You got the regular season banner, you got the Big Ten tournament banner, you got a Final Four banner. Get a banner next season, which you didn't do last year, and then we're calling it a success, I think, again. Is that fair, or do you still stand by it needs to be a Final Four?
Could I say he needs to get two banners, and it could be any two of his choice?
It feels like to me you get two banners, you can't call that a failure. You
Right.
get one, and it's maybe a sour taste in your mouth, even if it was a good season. But
I think if you, I think actually, the answer is going to vary, and this is going to sound bad, and I'm sorry to all Purdue fans. If he gets a Big Ten regular season banner, and that's the only one, I think to me that would be an issue. If he got a Big Ten championship banner and went on a run, like that's okay. But I feel like if you got a Big Ten regular season banner, but we saw your team start to decline come February, and then it carried over into March and so on, and you kind of had 2 straight months of bad play, that leaves a worse taste in my mouth than if you lost the Big Ten by a game, you won the Big Ten tourney, then you got killed on a buzzer beater in the round of 32.
I think that's fair. And I think it's the nature of our sport and why we love it, right? March Madness gives you a chance to rewrite and redefine your seasons. In fact, I would use last season for Purdue as an example of this. They had a very disappointing finish to the regular season, a very disappointing Big Ten tournament. It was just a total flop. We were ready for next year. And then they made a Sweet 16 and took Houston all the way to the final possession. And now I think we're looking back like, oh, that wasn't that bad. That was a pretty good year. No, it was a really bad year. And then you made a nice run in the single elimination tournament. So that is true. You've almost got to end on a high note for everyone to feel good about it. But this is just how I'm individually wired. Maybe it's the Michigan fan, it's not a Michigan State fan in me. I can't view the end all be all as March success. The tournament is too fluky. It's a beautiful thing. The 30 game sample size matters just as much to me in terms of defining what somebody is. And Matt Painter can continue adding to his legacy by just dominating this league. But he's got to dominate the league. He had two All Americans last year and did not dominate the league. If you want to be number one on the coach power rankings, get back to that. Until then, the guy that just won the league by 3, that holds every single winning success metric in the Painter era over Matt Painter, he's going to be number one until further notice.
If Yaxel doesn't go to return to Michigan, there's no reason Purdue shouldn't dominate this league.
I think that's totally fair.